Yes, there was a video with the refrigerator. In fact, before I even thought about, before somebody pointed out the house thing, I seen a video and I was like, that's a pretty weird video. In fact, I think it's on his channel. I don't know what the hell's going on here. YouTube is a F up. He does these clips where he's bragging and degrading other people for not having a Valentine's, for, a girlfriend. He's a narcissist through and through, okay? This is something that they would do. He's like, when TikTok removes all my music, but at least I have a Valentine this year. Like, he's like middle fingering everybody. I don't know. It's really weird. But the other video is him sitting on his kitchen countertop. And behind it, I think, is the refrigerator, but I can't see it now. It was like I saw it yesterday and I was like, that's really weird. He's doing like somebody without a Valentine's and then doing the loser sign and everything like that and laughing at other people. I'm like, wow, that's very arrogant. What is that? Yeah, so this is prior to this alleged crime. But one thing to note in his stuff is that if there was a dismemberment, like this thing that they're saying had happened, do you know what you could find and things like that? They're gonna have some injuries on their hand because some of us that like to build and saw and construct things and use hammers and saws and for things that are not involving homicide. You could get marks on your hand just even generally doing some hard heavy um woodworking. Like woodworking is the word. So many times like they could get cuts on their hand, they could get bruising. Also if there was a struggle in the this whatever happened here, they might have injuries. And so what you want to do is when you know when it happened, or at least a rough estimate of when this happened, look at the areas in the videos, in any videos, to see if you see any marks. And sure enough, one of the things I found yesterday, and I had to make sure it wasn't there prior because, he's a weird guy. He does tattooing and he may do some weird stuff and he may have had something on his hand prior to this. So I was going through a series of about several videos and his conduct in between that. He starts releasing all this music, all this stuff in between it. They're driving down. Here's something interesting too. And they have some footage where they're driving in the dark somewhere in yonder and it's sped up. Some of the footage looks like stock footage, like it's hard to tell. But some of it looks like they were taping possibly, and then they used the footage and put it into the music thing. So actually what you might be seeing is where they're talking about where he drove in the middle of the night, but he's actually taping it. He's videographing, vlogging basically his conduct and then using these portions for real into his stuff. That may be occurring. So it was hard to tell, but I was like, yeah, that looks a little weird. And it's in the night, right? And they're driving on a long road, like somewhere, like on a freeway or somewhere weird. I don't know. And then it's sped up, though, so you don't pay attention. You just have the feel of what's going on, but it's there. So on March 4th, which is before spring, because they pointed out springtime, March 4th is not spring yet. So March 20th to the 21st is kind of an area where March, the springtime starts. So I looked on the video, I'm like, I see nothing on his hands. And then I started questioning, is he left-handed? I don't know if he's left-handed. I was trying to figure out why this mark would be on the left hand. But okay, so on here you see on the first clip, he does not have any marks on his hands. Do you see that? So I'm looking, so that's what I came to look for. I'm just like, does he have any marks? Does he happen to have any marks? Because I know it happened before April 7th. I'm almost certain it happened before April 7th. So now we go back to March. We know March is not springtime. So now we're going to zoom in on a time frame. Also keep in mind these videos. Okay, so this video comes out. This video was put out on April, was it April 24th? So videos can be done in a couple days to a couple weeks. This guy doesn't seem like this mass production guy, but some of his stuff looks like, it could take, it depends. It's like, it depends. So it's gonna take a little time. They're gonna set it up. They're gonna set up this video. They're gonna do this video and come up with this idea to come up with some bullshit. Well, you may just have disregarded this because nobody's looking at his hand to look for something, right? And you just think it's all symbolic, and it's covering something actually, which is interesting. So you could try to argue he did it just for the video. I would find the only person I could see doing some bullshit like this is like Marilyn Manson cutting himself for a video for the sake of art. But in this case, we have a murder in between, or some, alleged something right here in between the case. And one of the things in the case is, dismemberment. So, and possibly part of a crime itself, like the actual, if he was fighting a victim, any of these things could be, part of the thing. This one was too questionable to know if he's always had this bump on his head. I mean, it could just be that, but I was kind of looking at that going, I have no idea, man. Because when they do other shots, like I can't tell, it doesn't look like it, but maybe this was done on another day. I have no idea, but this is just something that was in addition on a video, and does it mean anything? I don't know. It could be from that chef hat that he keeps wearing and he's getting a huge, like, something right there. But, I mean, it looked like a bump. But I couldn't see it elsewhere, but somebody else may. I don't know. But it was just something of interest. After this video was done, on May 23rd, we see a mark. And I was trying to figure out this mark. I go, yeah, that would be dealing with some sun. It doesn't look like a cut. Because if you go back here, I mean, it's pretty, let me zoom this thing in, but I'm going to take a closer thing of it. You see it? It is a pretty nasty, bruising. Listen, the video was taped probably before April 24th. The mark is still seen May 23rd. That is literally a month after that. And it's still there. I mean, that's a pretty gnarly thing right there. What do you think it could be? Yeah, like, there's nothing in particular, like, why you would do that mark and then put the cross. Like, it's not even artistically really fitting with the cross, right? It's symbolic, like, glorifying that's like an injury, perhaps, from the incident. And then marking, look, death, a thing, cross, they died. A thing like that. But on an artistic level, like, it's not designed like that. It's designed to kind of like glorify an injury in a weird way. Like he's Jesus Christ. No, like glorify some sort of thing like that. But in the video of it showing it, what are the people, I guess he's manipulating the people in the video that's taping it. Like they think maybe he did it and he's just being artistically gross with something. But nobody's thinking, or maybe they do know. It's like one of those things, I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know if it would flag me, like if I seen it right off the bat, I would just think like, hey, gee, what does that mean? I would almost think that he's probably trying to do some dark religious bullshit here, in context with the song. But I don't know if I would look into that and go, wow, can you tell me what that means with this big, huge thing? And why'd you cut yourself? Like something. Do you see it? It's like really bad. What it may have been, like it could be from the instrument that they use, maybe, or a victim fighting back. One of the two things. Like, I don't know what it would be because also it's on his left hand. So I'm like, why is it on his left hand? Because I'm thinking like if you're doing a lot of like this, that with your right, then I would think the injury would be more or less on your right, but I don't know. It's on his left hand, you guys. And I tried to make sure like the camera wasn't flipped around. So when he was showing his screenshot of the iPhone, it was straight on. So it's not like reversed. It's his left hand. But I just want to point it out to you guys because that's what we saw. And oh yeah, and the addition at the end of it, he flashes on this video, he flashes to the two people, right? The two people that he feels like killed him and threw him in and buried him, right? So it's a white guy with allegedly the deceased female in the story. And then later at the end of this video, after he shows she's gone, there's a white guy all bloodied up like spirit, like, you know, and then at the end he goes into him and then he's the dead guy, you know, whatever the thing. So I was looking at it going, was there another guy dead up in here? Because it's so like kind of autobiographical, you know, it has a autobiography thing to it. Like he's telling the story as it's going, like in real life, that like if you took it away from everybody else in the story, I was like, oh, did he kill the guy too? And then now he took over his spirit. Like there was a weird thing to it. So I was like, well, who's the white guy? Is the white guy alive? Is anybody else missing in the story? Maybe nobody reported it yet. Or they did report it and nobody put these things together. I don't have a clue. I was like, I don't think he is trying to be the white guy in the story. Be like, what is wrong with you, dude? But yeah, apparently there's like this other guy and then he gets I think he gets jealous because maybe they were talking and she liked him and she got interested in him and he's getting jealous and pissed and she broke his heart and she's a child victim up in here and shouldn't be with any of these men. And, you know, and then it turns to this really horrible story. And as another channel said, I was like, well, I didn't think of that. But really, they have this idea. And I was like, I don't think that's it. But that was a pretty thoughtful scenario. They came up with some type of theory. The theory sounds great until you would try to put that into motion. So what they were thinking is they just froze her to death. Like with before doing this cutting thing. So I was like, well, yeah, but have you guys tried to cut anything totally fully frozen? You're going to end up hurting yourself. So in order to do that, if you were to do that, let's just even, if you want to even hypothetically play with that game, you would need major woodworking equipment. And even then, I don't know, you might kill the blades before you would even be able to. Yeah. So they were trying to come up with a theory as to why there's no blood everywhere. So, okay, so this thing, as it gets more graphic. Well, another theory is that they could have, wherever they went, they did it out somewhere else. I mean, that could be too. The freezer that you see in the photos may or may not be where she was stored. It could be somewhere else. And that actually may be why they're dragging in some other person. I can't imagine the person in the story that he's talking about would be involved with them getting together and then taking her out. I mean, you could say it's possible, maybe it is possible, but they're showing him dead. Like, it's just a weird thing right there. But another addition to this story that I want to make clear for people is that he has, he's a high risk guy and a high potential to what you want to call unalive, since, you know, they want to do censorship with words, which is stupid because it means the same damn thing. Yes, very, very high chance. I wish they would have taken him in, but again, the case, you know, that stuff, you know, to not screw with things. But, yes, he's a high risk. He's very high risk. In fact, it was so concerning a fan. This was interesting because I went on to Reddit last night, and I was just trying to let people know some additional information about something. Everybody's having a conversation. And someone goes, "I'm new here. But I'm a fan of his, and I actually just saw him at a show not too long ago. And does this have anything to do something about him breaking down on this one song?" And I go, "Well, I don't know his music, so let me go take a look at what that's about." Um, it was the Afterlife song, and there's a line in there that is basically blaming, because he's a narcissist, he like kind of blames her for anything, like if he die it's her fault type of thing. Like, if it happens to me, you're the one that's going to end up being the one that kills me, basically going on this line. Well, that's where he breaks down. He breaks down on stage in front of these people, this person that's posting. And I go, "Yeah, thank you for bringing that to my attention." Because I was like, I don't know. It was like they put it out there, and I didn't look into that. Yeah, like a Brian Laundrie, I was trying to say, where, he didn't want to take accountability for what he did. And a lot of times they do that, you guys. They do. And so I'm like, I'm going to get pissed if they allow this to happen. I would just say that anybody who's around him, I would try to talk him into turning himself in and just make sure that that doesn't happen. So yeah, his mental health is very bad. He's on severe, like, that's like severe depression, but that's going to be tied with some other problems. It's just that actually is there. And you don't want that, because you want some answers in the story, and he should be accountable for the things that he's done. And he never cared about her. I mean, if he did, he would come forward because he cares about, you know what I mean? So this just would have never happened. But yeah, so that's that. But his mother, yes, I fully believe still that both the parents in the story should be arrested and charged for some bullshit, because neither thing should have happened, right? Can we all agree that none of these moms, these women in the story, do you see how we all got raped up in here? I mean, the mothers really represent women in the story of how we get this like network of men into kids and blah, 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 blah. The reason why he has this problem, you have to talk to a specialist in regards to that area. But yes, it could be caused from child abuse, some additional genetic factors. Like, he may be on the spectrum. He seems, yeah, he's awkward, weird, something. Okay. But in addition, his mother secluded him and then jammed religion down his throat. And then, so he's using some symbolism, and he talks and, all these things. That's child abuse, you guys. The whole thing that happened with him is child abuse. And she cuddles him. Like, there's this over nurturing thing about it. But then at the same time, abuse. On the other side of it is like, nobody cares about women, and they don't care about little girls, and they just pass off adult men on us all the freaking time. And it's everybody in the story, really. And I'm just like, they've got to start really going at this, because this is like the real dynamic of us getting raped out here. They don't all turn homicidal, but a lot of them have, right? We get femicide. But really zoom in on the dynamic of the mother, and then the mothers on both sides and everything, and then the general public, where they're like, "Oh, we didn't know she was a kid." I was like, you ain't bullshitting me, none. You could bullshit the cops and all them, because they don't want to get, I mean, obviously it's not their fault that this happened, but it's just that, to tell me you guys didn't know or even suspect that she's like a kid. I mean, all of us are looking at her, just like, at no time does she look like a college student. And he's running around with fluffy animals, which is a bad sign, though, because it's kind of like he can't grow up. He's very immature internally. And so, you know how kids have emotional outbursts, or like me when I'm really mad. I was like, no, when like children have these, like, because that's how they get their emotions out, because they're not regulated yet. Like, he has internally, he's kind of stayed there. It's weird. I wouldn't trust any guy with fluffy animals coming around. I would automatically assume he's just a pedophile. I mean, as you probably should. But it doesn't mean that they always offend. This is the other addition to that thing. He's also a narcissist, but he also has severe other mental health issues. Like, they're very bad. And then he goes into delusional states. And again, I'm not a doctor to diagnose him, but it's like an array of a lot of things that are really bad. And his mother, if my kid was acting like this, I would literally take them to a doctor, but she wants to seclude him from society. And then he just jumps into society and then does this crap. I'm going to go for a kid. I'm going to go do this stuff. I'm going to be all into slaughtering people. You know what? The only reason why I think in our story where we even got interested in that whole thing, I think it was a combination of factors. My father, because he was chronically dealing with serial killers. And then also society at that time, for whatever reason, everything was like horror movie this, horror movie that, horror, you know what I mean? And we had Halloween, we had, Carrie's a movie that this reminds me of, the mom. His mother reminds me of Carrie. So it reminds me of like him if he was in the female version of it. Character wasn't even that bad. Her character was going after all those little bullies, you know what I mean? So that's a little different. But the mother dynamic though, where she's like, you can't go out. She's gonna come after you with a knife. Pray to Jesus. Yes, something like that. That's who she reminds me of. But actually, these stories, a lot of the horror movies were based on actual real serial killers that had these mental health issues and the dynamics with their parents. They always had the over nurturing mother, like just weird stuff. But they're actually based on real stories. But when I was a kid, it just seems totally fake. I mean, I never took it as real. I never took it as serious. I never imagined myself running around slaughtering everybody, other than when we were thinking of characters for music stuff. We were thinking of more of a, actually, if you think of the movie Carrie, and then she's going after these bullies or whatever, the way that it was kind of going, it's more of a, it's not out of nowhere. It's like, these kids are bad. We need to like take care of them. It's like, but if it came out, it wouldn't be what he's doing. It's like actually a different psychology. There is a line, but what I have found in this whole, thing with these guys is that no, they are actually for real putting their real emotions into this garbage right here, and that really is a side of them. Like, that's the truth of it, even with those other people. So that's like that's a real side of them where they get to express this part of them that's totally evil. And I'm literally saying those people are totally evil, and just because they're not in prison for slaughtering a bunch of people in real life. There's a very dark, sadistic hatred towards females from those people. And it's scary that I got into that, because you see what happened here. It's like, I didn't die, but I could have died. But their treatment, the way they treat women, the whole other thing about it. Even with Eminem, his whole thing about throwing women in a trunk. He really hated women. He hated his mom. That whole thing. It's real, right? It's based on real emotions and them expressing that. It's not, oh, just for the art. It's like, no, you're psychotic and you did things and you got arrested for waving around a gun. I mean, just stuff like that. But it is based on something real. Something real. So it disturbs me today. Like, I'm not into it. Like, every time it's brought up now, I'm just like, yeah, that's going to be a sign that everybody's got some mental health issues and it's not going to be good. And why should we even be found as somebody like glorifying murdering a bunch of people anyway? It's not even entertainment to me anymore. It's too real, because I feel like the victim in this story, like we have some similarities where it's like, oh, all these guys that were into this, they're calling it a gore fetish. um, it's actually he's homicidal and he's a bit delusional and some other issues going on, and then he puts it into his music. What kind of sucks is music isn't totally terrible. It's actually like the guy actually kind of knows how to write, then whatever program he uses makes him sound like that. But he doesn't use his talent for good. And yeah, that's just the unfortunate thing. I do think it's weird that he just keeps going back to the video games, but that's what his mother did to him, you guys. He was secluded and then he didn't have any friends, and then he would just sit and play games all the time, and he got so immersed in his mental health problems that I guess that he was started to live vicariously through wacky video games. But the video games didn't do it to him, guys. Just put it this way. The video games didn't do it to him. It's the environment that he's in. He doesn't have other people. Just the lack of relating to other people. He's very childlike. We have to be on top of this, you guys, because he could harm me. He could harm anybody else, that thing. Some people think he's done it before. If he has, he would have wrote about it, right? He likes to kind of tell you the truth about him, of trying to make him more brilliant than he actually is. That's another thing. But did he plan it out? Yeah, I believe he did. I don't know for how long. Because in February, he's middle fingering everybody going, look, I got a Valentine's Day. Don't you feel like a loser that you guys don't? He's doing this. That's a narcissist, guys. Hey, I got this like little kid. I mean, really? Yeah, but their brains are a hot mess. That's them. That's them. But that's serious. That's pretty severe though. I don't know too many guys out here going on like that. I mean, there are some, but I don't know too many. Hey, look, I got a girlfriend. You're a loser, dude. He's degrading other men. It's to make him, because he's very fragile. He's very fragile on the inside. He's as fragile as the Kevin Spacey, but he's very fragile. So he's doing that to feel good about himself. And then he gets his ego, his, self-esteem gets knocked down when other men come around. And maybe with a white guy, because he uses a white guy. So he feels, beneath him at some point, and she doesn't want him. And so he decides, she broke his heart. So he's very self-centered. It's about him, and he don't care about anybody else. And so he can't take it anymore, and she doesn't deserve this rage comes out. So there was obviously domestic violence in this case. He writes about it, saying that she said that she got scared of him. He, fears him, as I think anybody would, that has any sanity here. So yeah, something was going on. I don't know if he hit her. I don't know if he chronically threatened to murder her. He may have. And then eventually he does. So he gets into these ragers. I don't know if anybody has seen it. But obviously it's there because he kind of admits it and through his work. And that's what we know right now. So pretty much zoomed in into this March area sometime after spring. So you're talking about 2 weeks, in a 2-week period that we have right here. I don't know the exact date. It almost seems like it happened after March 27th even. Like somewhere in there. I think that's where I landed because I wrote down some dates. Yeah, I put like March 27th question mark. It appears like somewhere in that little section right there. So if you guys just go scrolling some videos, even though they're like home footage, they're regular ones. He does this little TikTok, whatever. If you see any other marks, let us know. Put them up. But yeah, that's a indicator that could be from an injury from this thing here. Glorifying it. And I should point out, this is all alleged. This is just my personal opinion. No one's been arrested for the crime or anything. Oh yeah, the innocent till proven guilty thing. Yeah. So when I'm talking throughout this thing, I just want to make that clear. It's just a personal opinion. It could be totally wrong. And I missed everything. Just saying. Back to the frozen thawing thing. I just wanted to throw this out here. I don't even want to get into this part of the case, really. It's just not my thing. But okay, as we were talking about the frozen part, so I don't quite understand the comments that were put out here. LAPD would not know what the me found. It may be in together with the story where at some point in time somebody froze her. What it says is it could take 24 to 48 hours to thaw. That's just a general, thing going on here. However, things that would change this to being a couple days to weeks or whatever, depending on the temperature of the trunk. Like, I don't know if it's a very insulated trunk, like it's a cooler type trunk, if it's those things will have a significant impact on something like that. We'll just say it like that. So I can't tell you what they saw. Another addition to the case is if that is the fact that when they started doing the autopsy, when they went to go, do what they do, and they found ice or something on it, then that would mean, here's what that would mean. We're just going to do hypotheticals because we don't know what the heck is going on back there. Then somebody missed something in the story. That can indicate the secondary person, somebody came and then put them in the trunk while it was parked somewhere else. That could happen. Like, that's another scenario in the story. From my understanding, they're not going to tell us all those things, you guys. And they're not going to for this reason. They threw out somebody else may be involved. They don't want to really throw out who they think it is. They may be investigating them right now. That could be an additional in the case, and they feel it could totally destroy the case if we start figuring that junk out, okay? So that is the question, right? We're all like, how could she be frozen for a month? Yeah, a month is pretty long. The only way that that could happen is when you go through these stories is that if it was like in winter weather and then it's like a slow cooling down thing, and some situation would have to make it that way, right? It's like something additional, I would think. You're looking at the thawing, not always in the center would it thaw like real quickly. Like when they say something like that, it's like the depends. And another factor was how cold they were frozen at, which is the starting point, which then can extend the time of that. But I would figure, like me personally, I wouldn't go any further than a week to say like something would be like that. That's just my opinion. If it was in just some general normal conditions, like just for like the furthest out hypothetical situation to even see that. But I'm assuming that when they were doing the autopsy, there must have been some sign. Maybe there were some signs that at some point she was frozen. But if they did find that, then you have to go by what they find, because if for some reason they see that there's some frozen thing going on here and they know the car was parked there for over a month, then, oh boy, somebody missed something. Somebody else came. Something happened, right? Something a little different. That's what that would mean. I don't know why they wouldn't. That would be horrifying to know that the medical examiner's that ridiculous that they can't tell. So LAPD is not the medical examiner. The medical examiner is hired and they have a study very specifically in that field. Neither I or LAPD are in that field. But we could look at it, just general information. Like I was trying to explain to somebody on Instagram that, well, here's the possibility. But I didn't give a time limit on it, which I should have, because I made it seem like it could happen in that whole month. It will happen in a period of time. But again, it depends. Everything's a hypothetical because it depends how they were preserved. They said in a bag, but they didn't say within any other thing or any other thing, okay? But at some point, it is going to thaw, which obviously it did, because then it becomes a very noxious thing, to everybody. So they're going to halt the information now. So we're going to be sitting here going, somebody come and dump it off in there too? Or is it that maybe the meme meant that at some point in time they were frozen? That's it. I mean, that's where we're at right now. I don't think they would be that off. They had some indicators on the report, and then they have continuously said she was in part, in this thing. And like I said, on the opinion from the other female, that's very unlikely. What they said, like they thought they were trying to paint him a little bit more mastermindy than he actually is, I think. I mean, I don't hate the theory. I mean, I don't hate that they came up with that theory. It's an interesting theory. But when it's put into motion, it's almost near impossible to do that. It would ruin the equipment before you could even probably finish. If you actually go through these cases where people have done that, it's a lot of work. And yes, somebody can do it by themselves. We've seen tons of cases of this where the guy does it himself. But when he's doing it himself, there's a lot of things being used, and it becomes very difficult for them at points, and just things happen. The other guy did it to 3 family members, I believe, out here on his own. 3 family members. But it was a massive scene right there. In this case here, though, we have a lot of time in between, though. So there's a lot of cleaning that can be done. It's even still like, no matter how much cleaning you do. But yeah, it could have been done at a different location too. It could have been done outside. It could have been all kinds of things. I don't know what the hell's going on with that portion. There's some freezers where they don't need to do that. They didn't pull that type of freezer out. Yeah, there's been cases of that too. They didn't dismember. They just put him inside there. That was that case where that guy like had didn't he have a bomb around his neck, and that whole thing happened, and then they had a body in the freezer at their house, at that guy's house, and wasn't it fully intact? I believe it was. Yes. They have those freezers too. So I was just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I can only go by what they're saying. I believe that. I mean, it sounds reasonable that they may have initially done that, and then at some point a removal. And I think that's where they were getting the idea that somebody else was supposed to do something and then they didn't. But I don't know if that's actually the story. I think it may be just coming up because of suspicion, because it doesn't make much sense. Like, why do you have it the whole time and then you just throw it in a trunk and then you leave, right? But he's not a normal individual, and we cannot say what the heck here. It would be interesting if the guy that was supposed to do it, if it was in a situation like that, he ends up getting arrested or something, and then it just never happened. That's how everybody got caught. Some dumb thing. I have no idea. I can't tell you. There allegedly is a white guy in the story, in my opinion. And then when I was watching another clip, they started pulling out a white guy. But in that situation, I think they're trying to say that he helped. But in the actual story, it looks a little different. So maybe there's another white guy in the story.